You guys have any specific questions you want to start with, or you want me to kind of just start with my story?
We'll start. We'll have you start with your story. Well, let's do
Okay.
it.
Yeah, so I went to college or undergraduate to get my bachelor's degree, and I was pre-med, and I did well in my classes. But my senior year, I had a surgery that was an unnecessary surgery, made me very unwell. I went from being very fit and active to not being able to do very much. And so then I got interested in integrative health and holistic healing, and I decided to pursue my doctorate in physical therapy and orthopedic rehabilitation. I never really wanted to end with that. I knew I wanted to incorporate wellness and nutrition, which you guys talk about a lot with your other guests. And so I started incorporating more and more functional medicine and studying that as a way to help my clients and patients achieve their optimal health and become the best versions of themselves.
Well, that's an amazing story. So, Dr. Tim Jackson is a DPD, began studying functional and environmental medicine as well as digestive health in an effort to help others achieve wellness. So, we are so honored to have you with us today.
I'm honored to be here, and I'm very jealous of you guys. I didn't start learning this stuff until I was about 22 or 23, and you guys are what, 19, 20, and 21?
Yeah. So, how do you help people get to their optimal health?
Yeah, so it depends on where they are when they get to me. So, like, you guys are already eating healthy and getting plenty of movement in and taking the right supplements and things of that nature. Some people who come to me aren't doing any of those things. So, we have to start with things like hydration, water filtration. We want to make sure we're staying hydrated, but we're not adding toxins to our body because that's going to create more issues. So simple things like hydration with electrolytes, so sodium, potassium, and other minerals that we need for our cells to function properly and for all of our physiological reactions to take place. So we start there. We start by optimizing something called the circadian rhythm. So the 24-hour cycle that our bodies go through. And that's very dependent upon how much natural sunlight we get and how much artificial light we're exposed to. So if we can work on things like nutrition, hydration, your circadian rhythm, or your sleep cycle, essentially, that will help to significantly increase someone's energy. And then we can work on designing an exercise program to help them reach their fitness goals. And then once they have those things in place, we gradually start layering in the more advanced stuff. But we don't do that until they've got the basics down.
But that is awesome and so good that you're doing this. So you work a lot with high achievers. What is a high achiever?
Yeah, great question. So I used to, when I first put that, on my website, my social media, people thought that I meant I only work with pro athletes, but everyone performs at something. So if you're a parent, you're performing as a parent. If you're a teacher, you're performing as a teacher. If you're a doctor, you're performing as a doctor. So we all perform at something, and achieving your optimal and performing at your absolute best, that can be achieved by those foundational steps like hydration, nutrition, sunlight, grounding. And high achievers doesn't necessarily mean you're making $10 million a year. It just means you're showing up in your interactions with people, whether it's your teachers, your family members, your friends, and that you're there for them, and you have the energy to interact and have positive, healthy relationships and a strong sense of community. So I would define you guys as high achievers. I didn't have my own podcast when I was your age.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about what you just said. We don't think of drinking water if water is important. We are so busy with school that we don't have enough time to drink water. Why is drinking water so important?
So our body is anywhere between 70 to 80% water, and without it, you can't conduct electricity. So most people don't know, but or don't think about it this way, but we're bioelectrical beings, meaning that we run on currents and voltage and frequency. And so basically, when you drink lots of water and it's filtered water and you add electrolytes, that allows your cells to talk to one another. So let's take you guys, for example. If you're a cell, you're a cell, and you're a cell, but there's no water surrounding you, you won't be able to talk to one another. And so you could be in the same room, but you might not be able to communicate. When you add water, that allows nutrients to get into the cell and toxins to leave the cell. So the good stuff goes into the cell and the bad stuff goes out of the cell. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why are electrolytes so important?
Yeah, so electrolytes, they're named that because of their ability to conduct electricity. And most of today's society, they're depleted in electrolytes because of stress. Stress will cause us to excrete our electrolytes when we go to the bathroom and urinate. And because we're under so much stress, we're excreting our electrolytes at a higher rate. Plus, a lot of the foods that we eat are depleted of electrolytes. And so we need to replenish those. And something that confuses a lot of people, but if you just drink plain water without electrolytes, you can actually make yourself more dehydrated because you're further diluting the electrolyte pool. And so electrolytes stay within a very narrow range. Your body likes to keep them within a very small range because if they get too high or too low, it creates problems. For example, with the heart, most people know about potassium. We need magnesium and calcium for our muscles to contract. And so the electrolytes, they're not as interesting to some people as, say, hormones or the microbiome, but they're just as important. Do you guys drink filtered water with electrolytes?
Yes,
Sometimes. Not that
Good.
much.
I do
I
because
know.
I run a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. The more active you are, the more electrolytes you need.
So when we want to achieve a goal, most of us are not sleeping. Like me, I wake up pretty early in the morning. So if we're trying to get an A on a test, we study all night long. How does sleep help us become our best?
Absolutely. So it's kind of like working out. So going to the gym and lifting weights or using resistance bands. When we're in the gym or when we're working out, we break down muscle tissue. But when we're sleeping, our body repairs those muscle tissues and we get stronger. The same thing happens with learning. So if I teach you guys something or you guys teach me something during the day, but then we don't sleep that night, we're not able to consolidate those memories and keep them embedded in the nervous system. And so I had to learn this the hard way in college because I would stay up really late studying for tests, but you're actually better off studying less and going to bed earlier because your brain works better, your hormones work better, your memory's working significantly better. And so if you're trying to get an A on the test, the best way that I've found is studying in small chunks a little bit every day. So let's say you have a test 3 weeks from now, you start studying 30 to 45 minutes a day, every day. By the time the test comes around, you just need to review for 10 to 15 minutes before the exam.
Wow, that's very great tips for us because I have lots of tests.
Absolutely. What do you guys eat on a daily basis?
So we like to have our vegetables,
Protein and then carbohydrate.
and that's what we usually put in our lunches. I make the lunches and I put vegetables, protein, and then a carbohydrate. Vegetables are like the appetizer, you need them. They're like the nutritious. Protein is like the meal, and then carbohydrate is like a treat. That's how I put it.
Absolutely. And do your classmates, when you see their food, do you think, oh my gosh, that's not even food? Or what kind of things do they say?
No, I look at their food and I'm like, I kind of feel bad for them because now they're gonna go home and they're gonna feel pretty sick later on, and then they might not do well on like tests, or they might get like really tired and agitated.
Absolutely. So you already know more than most doctors.
Yeah, that's because we're learning. That's why we're doing this interview.
Kid doctors.
There you go. Doogie Howsers.
What is the best foods to help our body work to the very best?
So I think what you were just describing in terms of protein. So most of the biochemical reactions in our bodies involve amino acids. And so proteins, if we have a protein that's this long, it's made up of polypeptides and then peptides, and then the peptides are made up of amino acids. And so as long as we're digesting our food well, getting those amino acids, because we need them for detoxification, we need them for learning and memory to make the chemicals in our brains called neurotransmitters. And we also need the healthy fats. So omega-3 fatty acids, and we even need a little bit of saturated fat. So the brain is, mostly fat. Our nerves have a fatty coating around them. And like you mentioned, vegetables for the fiber. And that also helps to feed the good bacteria, the commensal bacteria in our microbiome. And so when you have optimal amounts of fiber and prebiotics, which is a type of fiber, that helps to feed the good bacteria, and that can keep the bad bacteria at bay. When you have enough protein and healthy fats, that also helps to stabilize your blood sugar. So if you do, or when you do have some carbohydrates, your blood sugar doesn't go way up and then way down, which will cause brain fog, fatigue, confusion. So I think the way you described it is really well put.
With becoming a high achiever comes a lot of stress. What are your main tips to lower stress?
Yes, so I think optimizing your energy levels, because there's a saying, and you guys might be too young to have heard it, but fatigue makes cowards of us all. And all that means is that we're more likely to lash out or be irritable when we're fatigued and tired. So all the things that you guys do on a day-to-day basis and that I do, from getting sunlight to movement to eating healthy, going to bed on time, taking the proper supplements, having good family connections and social connections, that goes a long way towards mitigating the effects of stress so that it doesn't have as much of a negative impact on our bodies. And exercise plays a key role. We don't want to overdo it with the exercise, but we need a certain amount of movement every day in order for our bodies to function optimally. And if you looked at some of the brain imaging and brain scans of people who walk for 30 minutes a day, and you look before the walk and after the walk, there's significantly increased activity in all areas of the brain after they engage in some form of movement. So those things mitigate stress. And then for people who are CEOs, high-level executives, pro athletes, we add in some special supplementation like adaptogenic herbs, rhodiola, for example, to help mitigate the stress response, because it's really not the event, it's our perception of what happens. So keeping the brain healthy allows us to perceive things in a healthier manner, and then we don't get stressed as easily.
Let's talk about mindset.
Because high achiever achieves can also be perfectionists.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about, let me ask you guys this, because you guys do a lot. You do school, you're doing a high level podcast, you're speaking at the gluten free summit. How do you guys control your stress levels?
I like to draw and do art.
I like to eat food.
Mhm.
And
I don't
lunch.
I like to lay around and do nothing.
Hey, rest and digest. That's what's called the parasympathetic portion of your nervous system. And we all need that. And so, mindset, yes, it's incredibly important. Reframing things, thinking instead of things happening to us, they're happening for us, even though it may be difficult at that time to see it. It's the concept of why did I get sick? Why did I have to have a surgery that wasn't necessary? But I was able to turn my pain into purpose and now serve a lot more people and hopefully leave the world a better place than I found it. And so, because I'm passionate about this, it doesn't stress me out most of the time. But I still am very careful about getting my movement in, about getting sunlight morning and evening, and just having positive, constructive conversations and communication. So, if we look at social isolation and what happened during the pandemic, we were isolated from our peers and even family members. And so that, has a negative impact on our immune system. And so, if we have strong social connections, our mindset is going to be more positive, and that's going to mitigate the effects of stress.
So how can we achieve a goal that has eliminated negative self-talk?
Yeah, so I think one thing is trying to rewire your nervous system. A lot of times, you guys have probably heard the word trauma. And we know trauma can be something very serious like a car accident or a stroke, but it can also be not being loved or nurtured or supported. And it's those little stressors day in and day out that add up. And so I think if you work on rewiring your nervous system and try to bring the subconscious into the conscious, then you have a better chance of A, achieving your goal, but B, once you're in tune to what you're saying to yourself, and if you can do that by 3 times a day, writing down what your thoughts are in your head, just unfiltered, just start writing. And most of the things we say to ourselves, we would never say to other people because they're really mean. But it takes a lot of work and diligence, and I've had to work at it, and I still have ways to go. But I've gotten a lot better in terms of the negative self-talk. And I think another huge improvement for me was not comparing myself to others, because we all have our own journeys. And just because someone might be a little further along, that doesn't mean they're better than you or smarter than you or stronger than you. And so we have to just, run our own races, so to speak, and be mindful of the things that we're saying to ourselves. Do you guys have a journaling practice or a writing exercise you do?
So we love to say 10 things we are grateful for every single day, because there are a lot of stuff that we take for granted these days.
Absolutely.
So we like to say 10 things we're grateful for.
And you guys have a big extended family, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have a strong social support system, and that's great. There are lots of people out there who are smart enough and talented enough, but they don't necessarily feel supported. And that, may prevent them or make achieving their goals much more difficult.
What nutrients are important for us to become our optimal? Are there any supplements we should add to our daily routine that will make us more deficient of?
Yes, so I would say electrolytes in your water at least once a day. A balanced blend of electrolytes with sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, and phosphorus. Omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil. You guys probably take that or have taken that.
Yes.
And that's important for our brains, and it's also important for controlling inflammation. So those are two major ones. And then fulvic acid is one that it's gotten a lot more attention in the past 4 to 5 years. but it's a mineral that helps to escort nutrients into your cells, and bring toxins out of your cells. And it also will help with, detoxification and immune function. So when we're exposed to environmental toxins, it can actually bind some of those up, and then we can excrete them through the urine or the feces. So I would say electrolytes, omega-3 fatty acids, and fulvic acid, and possibly a multi-mineral, because of the way we grow crops in the United States. We don't rotate, the crops, and it depletes the soil of minerals and nutrients. And so a multi-mineral with extra magnesium and zinc, because those are the two most common mineral deficiencies, and they play key roles in learning and memory.
What
Exercises. What exercises are the best for us?
So I would say the best exercise for you is one that you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, you're going to stick with it. And it doesn't have to be 100% enjoyable, like the greatest thing ever, but you need to at least like it most of the time. Because if I give you an exercise program that I think is good, but you can't stand it, then you're not going to be compliant with it and follow through with it, on a day-to-day basis. And so we need resistance training. That can be something simple like body weight squats, or lunges, or chin-ups, push-ups, but also something as simple as walking. So our lymphatic system, which is like the garbage disposal system in our body, it requires muscular contractions to move that lymphatic fluid throughout our body. And so walking is great. Rebounding or jumping on one of the mini trampolines is great. And resistance training. Ultimately, it doesn't have to be. So the difference between exercise is that it's structured versus movement. Like if you guys go out on the playground and you're playing on the monkey bars, going down the slides, that's movement. But you don't even think about it as exercise. You're just out there playing. And sometimes that's the best way to go about it, if you're just getting started, because you don't even think about it as, oh, I got to do this. It's going to be so difficult. Do you guys get movement in on a day-to-day basis?
Yes. I have a running cross country is what it's called.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I run a lot. So that's
What's the
all.
furthest you ran?
3 miles.
That's good. What about you guys? Do you get movement in?
I get movement in playing football and soccer.
I play
Awesome.
soccer.
That's great. So you guys are active, very active. That's great. And that also helps your brain function. So, the studies show that kids and adults who move and exercise have higher cognitive abilities and intellectual prowess.
So this was amazing.
Amazing.
What is one thing kids can do today if they want to become their optimal?
They're optimal.
I would say number one, do things, and this has to be really a whole family project, but make sure you're doing things that you want to do and that are going to make your cup runneth over and make you feel fulfilled. A lot of parents are projecting things that they wish they would have done onto their kids, and their kids may not have any interest in it. But giving people a little bit of what they need and a lot of what they want. That way they can, be on the best path forward towards their goals and achieving their optimal self. And it doesn't have to be complicated stuff. So it doesn't have to cost anything. Sunlight, free. Movement, free. Electrolytes, very inexpensive. Going to bed on time, free. So right there, a lot of times I see people, they're spending a ton of money on stuff, but they're not doing the very basic things that are completely free.
Where can people learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so my website is healyourbody.com. healyourbody.org or healyourbody.org. And my podcast is the Boss Body Podcast. And it's available on Libsyn, Spotify, Apple. How long have you guys been doing the podcast? This is episode.
COVID.
Dawson, you've been
I think
only
it
using
was
your butt.
before we started our COVID online quarantine school. It was before that. So like
Okay.
20 years, 20.
3
It's 2020.
years.
It was 2020.
Yeah, 2020. So 2 or 3 years.
Awesome.
I did the 2.5 years.
And do your classmates know that you're doing the podcast?
Yes.
Are
They
they
know.
jealous?
Nope.
Kind of. They're like, oh, you talk to so much like older, really smart people, and I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's great. And do you guys know what you want to be when you grow up?
I
Yeah.
want to be a doctor.
Doctor.
Awesome. Well, you guys are going to be great. You're going to know too much. You're going to know more than your professors in medical school.
Hopefully. So let's start with the basics. We should start with hydration. Our body is mostly water. Water helps our body talk to each other. Most are deficient of electrolytes because of stress and the lack of nutrients in our food.
Work on nutrition.
We need to make sure we are getting our amino acids to help our brain and body function. So we love to eat veggies and fiber, protein and healthy fats to help our body, brain and body. We love eating the rainbow.
Optimize your energy levels. Fatigue makes cowards of us all.
That's
These
it.
are happening for us, not to us. Get movement, sunlight, morning, and evening. Positive social experiments, more social support systems are important to help you achieve our goals. The best exercise is the one you enjoy. We love to ride our bikes. We love to play. I love to run.
I like to play soccer, football.
We like to do monkey bars, the playground. So, wow. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is so empowering.
Everyone, make sure to follow Dr. Tim on social media.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Thanks for the work that you're doing. I don't think you guys realize quite yet how far ahead of the curve that you are compared to your peers. And that's absolutely fantastic. It gives me a lot of hope.
It's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zansari.
I'm Imad.
And I'm Qasim.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom D, and look at from Mom's book. She has written a lot of them.
A lot of
I
them.
lied it.
Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to work together to create a healthier future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kid Show, where kids are empowering kids. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.